Just look at this. Across the left, you've got teams already lined up in formation. They're in their colour blocks because they're ready to see what might happen. And they're also trying to prevent things from happening here. There's Bora Hansgrohe left-hand side, looking after Danny Martinez. Bahrain victorious are there. Lidl Trek through the centre. Then you've got UAE Emirates operating on two fronts today. Ineos Grenadiers, Alpecin de Koning. Their nerves. And there's that hope that, for most, nothing will kick off again. 40k's to go. And it's as we might have been going into the finale anyway.
Well, if you're just tuning in now, you'd think, oh, well, everything was like it was when I had a look an hour and a half ago. But it's very different to that. I spoke about which sprinters haven't used any energy. There were just a very small handful of them. But when it comes to teams who haven't used up too much resources, although they had Jonathan Milan in the break, Lidl Trek have just been, well, they've had a little bit to do, rescuing Juanpe Lopez.
And he's at the back again here.
Yeah, but for the rest, the lead-out sort of men, Edward Turns, etc., Dan Hall, have had an okay sort of ride in the wheels. Alpecin de Koning, they've kept most of their riders just under the radar, sort of not spending too much energy.
Lead-out man, you know, you have that in mind, but sometimes that gets thrown out the window, and in the run-in, you know, with this little bit of an uphill, all of that can change everything in the situation today. And in the earlier part as well, the first big sprint of the tour, you know, it will be so hectic. There will be a lot of movement here, and trying to keep the riders together will be majorly difficult.
There may be slight adjustments in the lead-out trains because of this very finale. I mean, Philippe Gilbert won on this very finish in Piemonte, Gran Piemonte in, was it 2019? I think it might have been. Anyway, on this very run-in, and it just split to pieces. This is a bit of a different proposition with all the sprinters here in the Giro, but just the qualities of the lead-out men, you may see different guys become the last man. Like, for instance, with Caleb Ewan, they said Luka Mezgec, which makes sense. Max Walshut is here in the race as well, but more suited to a big, flat, fast run-in, so maybe that's a swap around for today.
Renalba. As you can see from the bottom of the picture, it's not all about vineyards and wine. Industry and quarrying here as well. Just see how the landscape in front of the peloton. 1 kilometre to 3:2 bonus seconds given out, plus the 12 points in the points classification as well. Who's the hungriest? Is there a cheeky chappy who wants bonus seconds for the GC2? Well, maybe the man in pink.
Yeah, quite possibly. Right near the front, there he is. Front and centre. I was just trying to have a peek on the right-hand side to see if Geraint Thomas had made his way a little bit further towards the front, see if he's got anything in mind.
Well, he's got the number one on his back. Sits in fifth position, yeah. Pogačar through the centre where it could open up a little easier. It's a steep old little rise this to the town. Carrasco will host this intermediate sprint. And again, the proximity to the finish, you wonder how many of the big sprinters are going to want to get involved, Sean?
Well, I'd be surprised if the sprinters will be involved here. As you can see, it is you know, quite a steep one here, and when you look at it on the road book, it doesn't look anything, but you can see there in the peloton the riders are having to work at it, and you just can see here, you know, that gradient, although they're not going full on. It's been interesting to see who's going to spring out here as we get within the inside the 500 and 600 metres.
It's a proper hill, this one. I mean, so many riders out of the saddle. It is really steep. Jens Vogt sent us a message on our messaging group and said this is a proper climb up to the sprint.
Gabriel Xavier through the centre for Lidl Trek. That's Nicola Conchi alongside him in the double denim of Alpecin de Koning. And this now is Connor Swift on the right-hand side for Ineos. Now then, a move to the front, an opening up of Domen Novak, taking a bead on. Pogačar's going to move through the gap climb before a plateau and a drop down, and the pace has gone from relatively slow to explosive again. Left-hand side as we look at it, riders moving up all the time. Hepburn is up there now for Jaco Alula. At the back, though, keep your eyes open, because Bram Velten here, key lead-out man, part of the train for DSM Firmenich Postanel, is out the back, and he's one of the first victims of this upping in pace. And if you're not quite there, if you're suffering for the first couple of days, Sean, you're being found out here.
Well, if you are suffering and if you have maybe a little bit of a problem, if you're maybe a little bit sick or carrying a little bit of an injury, you're going to get cut out, because you can see on the front there, Peter Seri, he's looking across left and right, and you can see the faces he's pulling, and we know the rider he is on this sort of section of the parcours, he would be a good rider at that, and that just tells that the way they're pushing here. When you look at the peloton, you say, sure, they're riding along at a pretty casual pace, but when you're down there on the front and you have your nose in the wind, then it's hard work.
It certainly is. Danny Martinez being kept safe in that blue jersey, the king of the mountains at the moment, or at least second in that competition and looking after the jersey. Alaphilippe moves up. Soudal Quick-Step choose to try and increase the pace and move Tim Merlier up. And now the fight for positions gets that little bit more intense.
This is that moment I was talking about before. Over the top of that little rise, and Merlier was well at the front. Then it's going to be a moment where somebody blinks, somebody goes first to try and get to that little downhill. And before we get to the narrowing at 7K to go, and Soudal Quick-Step, well organised. They said, we're all here. This is the moment to push forwards and just get ourselves at the front of the race and in position. Looking further back, I haven't spotted Caleb Ewan for quite a while. A couple of his teammates up and around there in Hepburn. I spotted big Max Walscheid. Milan there on the left-hand side on the wheel of his teammate. I think that was Jasper Sturven. It was number 117.
Romain Bardet is just moving up to Bieslund.
Ewan on the right-hand side now, about 25, 30 riders back, just trying to find a gap through on the right-hand side. It looks so calm from the helicopter. When you get this front-on shot from the motorbike, you see how hard it is really going.
The riders fighting the bike, fighting themselves and their opponents just to stay where they are. Here's Caden Grode, 60 k's an hour, and the watts to keep this speed up are highly impressive.
And this is what can make it difficult now for the sprinters, with the speed being applied, the likes of Ineos just trying to keep Geraint Thomas safe, keep it fast, keep him at the front. Tadej Pogacar up onto his wheel. GC riders one side, sprinters to the right.
It's Tim and Ardisman on the left-hand side looking after Geraint Thomas. Right as you look at it now, we start to see Tudor Pro Cycling appear. They should be today behind Dainese, but don't forget about Mayover. Pogacar moves up on the left-hand side as well. Girmay is keeping his own place. It narrows again. Sean, it's still chaotic, this.
Yes, it is chaotic, but it is stretching out a bit because of the uphill. And we can see there the uphill section. They're really going on to the more difficult part here. And it tops out at 3 kilometres to go. So, 700 metres. If the sprinters are in that, the top 10, well, then you have a little bit of room where you can slide back 10 or 15 positions and be, still in a really good position. And good for the sprinters. There's nobody really attacking this time, full gas. So we can see Milan there just making the effort to stay in front on the wheel of Stuyven. So, yeah, that is a good situation for the moment for the sprinters. It's not a hectic, explosive on this part.
Side safety, and once they're there, well, they will keep pushing on just in case there's splits. They want to stay at the front, so it's making life tough for the sprinters and their teams to take control. They've just got to undergo what pace is being set at the moment, get over the top and reorganise themselves quickly.
Gaviria, first sighting of him, he's moved up. He's got Torres with him at the moment, looking after him. Blue jersey with a big white M on. Now EF Education, Easy Post are looking to attack. They're looking to make moves. They're looking to try and do something special. Remember, no sprinter for them, but being followed by Pogacar here. And this is where things mightily get really interested, because Geraint Thomas is forced to react. And the sprinters are suddenly stunned. 3 kilometres to go. It's all happening again at the Giro.
Yes, it's all happening. And the sprinters will end up happy with this, because it was relatively, okay, but I think we're getting to the point now where the time is over, so they're moving on to more of the downhill section. So I think it's safe for the sprinters.
Well, 3 men away. Geraint Thomas is one, trying to get there under the wheel of Pogacar. Eddie Effer on the attack, trying to do something and surprise the sprinters. Behind there's a gap, and it's Alpecin de Koenig who really have to close the gap here.
Alpecin de Koenig with one man, followed by Lidl Trek for Jonathan Milan, who's there in fourth wheel in the peloton. Is Honoré from EF Education, the Dane. He spent the last couple of days at the back of the race waiting for a moment like this. He's got Pogacar and Geraint Thomas, looks over the shoulders. Will they cooperate with Honoré? The answer is yes.
Well, Geraint Thomas, of course, is going to go. They will race, they will go. Pogacar's with them naturally. He is a racer, a born racer, an entertainer, as we've seen throughout his career. Honore it was who started the party. He's now struggling to hold the wheel here. Lidl Trek in the chase.
Who expected today to pan out like this? Groups all over the place. And that has actually been a good thing for a move like this for Pogacar. Everybody on their limit after those moves early on, and he is just putting everybody in so much pain. Geraint Thomas, he is hanging at a length to the wheel of Pogacar.
Take a look at this. It's a sprinter stage, one of the flattest days of the whole Giro d'Italia. Pogacar took pink yesterday. He's away. Thomas the closest. And this is a real show. Sean, he's opening up the gap again.
Yes, well, he's opened up a nice gap, but I think there's too many riders with teammates here to close this one down in this final 1,400 metres. We can see Lidl Trek are the ones on the front. But, you know, it's a brave effort by the two men on the general classification, but will it be enough in this final run of 1,200 metres to the line?
Coming into this big corner now, and then they come up to that last little bit towards the finish line. It's Pogacar who keeps going. Robbie, there's still a gap to close. They come to the final kilometre.
There's still a big gap to close. They're coming in the final kilometre. Anybody who thought they had a lead-out man to spare, they could wait for it. They've got to sacrifice him to catch the two GC men who are on the loose.
Pogacar still there, 900 metres. Geraint Thomas is committing, of course they will. It's a golden opportunity for them both to go out and go at it. Behind, they've really started to go. They're really going to launch. It's Poltic and Meta who are really going to have a go over the top now. This is getting chaotic. It's always been out of control since we went to the hill, and we're now into the final 600 metres. It's Pogacar in pink trying to pull things off. Anything but a procession for the sprinters today. Are they going to be caught on the line? Those behind are gambling. They're waiting. They're making the others chase, as it's Pogacar at the front who sees Thomas sitting on his wheel, poised to sprint himself. 450 metres to go now. Pogacar's still there. Trentin is going. They're closing. The sprinters are there. They're going to get them on the line surely, but Pogacar now sprints. The man in pink is going. You have to hand it to the born entertainer, but he's going to be caught. It's one for the sprinters today. Here we go. It's Lund who's launching it out. Lund through the centre. Vernon's not far away. Dainese is there as well. On the right-hand side, though, it's Milan. Milan hits the front, or does he? Milan's there. They're all to the line at the same time. It's Merlier. Tim Merlier, who has it on the left-hand side. And it was pick a name out of a rather large hat at the end there. This Giro d'Italia, it should have been trying to invent things with him. But on a sprinter's day, they were forced to suffer in the mountains. They suffered on the flat. And finally, it's Tim Merlier who does the job. What a day on the Giro d'Italia.
Well, Tim Merlier, he gets it so right, so often on the first available opportunity for the sprinters in Grand Tours. But what looked to be a run-of-the-mill day in the Giro d'Italia has become an epic that will go down in memory.
Sean, what happened there?
Well, what a performance by Pogacar and Geraint Thomas. You know, the effort they put in there. When you consider the way the peloton was being pulled along by riders who were just getting to that final couple of 100 metres and then their job was over. You know, it just shows the talent of those two riders. And Pogacar's
for this team. On the end of a train that caught Pogacar and Thomas with just a couple of 100 metres to go. It was Lund who led it out. It was Dainese who was there. You could see Vernon was having a go as well. Milan on the left. Jente Biedemans was sprinting. Biniam Girmay, Olaf Koy, but in the end, Tim Merlier. It's Merlier. It looks to be Milan and Girmay.